the commander brings him out, and we have in chapter 23, 1 on, Paul looked straight at the Sanhedrin and said, "My brothers, I fulfill my duty to God in all good conscience to this day." That's what he said. Just one statement saying that he did what God wanted him to do until this day. We find that when he said it, the high priest got angry. He said, Ananias said, "Strike him on his mouth." Why do you think Ananias got agitated when Paul made this statement? "I have fulfilled my duty to God in all good conscience to this day." He didn't say anything offensive. He only stated a fact that he did his work. Why is it that the high priest got agitated, got angry? Any input from anybody? Well, if there is no comment from anyone, what I can understand is that they felt guilty because he said all that he has been doing is according to God's will, and they were against it. So they felt that Paul is accusing them of standing in the way of God's work. That's why Ananias got angry and ordered that Paul be struck on the mouth. Of course, Paul did not allow that. He retorted and he said, "God will strike you. You whitewashed wall." That's an insult, isn't it? He insulted him in a very polished language. When he was told that he was insulting the high priest, he apologized for that. He said, "I did not realize that he is the high priest." You know what comes through from this experience or this incident is that Paul was always by the side of the law. Even though he said law is not the thing that saves the people, he followed the law. He said the injunction to respect and honor the rulers, he was willing to do it. And then at this point, what Paul did is something very interesting. He didn't say that I am standing here because I am talking about Christ or I am talking about Jesus. I am telling the people that faith is the only way forward. Nothing. He made a statement that if you look at verse 6, "I stand on trial because the hope of the resurrection of the dead." You know, we find that Paul is a very intelligent man, a very clever person. And knowing that there are two parties in that Sanhedrin, one believed in resurrection, angels, and all that, and there is another group, the Sadducees, they did not believe in any of these or they denied all this. So when he said, "I stand on trial because of the hope of the resurrection of dead," that was enough to split the group. The Pharisees against the Sadducees. So some said, well, there is nothing wrong he has done. What he is saying is, what he is preaching is what we believe. So I find nothing wrong in this man. That is what they said in verse 9. Because the Pharisees believed in angels, spirits, in resurrection, all that, but Sadducees did not. So he got the Sanhedrin divided among themselves, and they start arguing with themselves, and Paul got away from there. And the commander took him away from there. He let them to fight it out themselves in the Sanhedrin. Then verse 11 is very interesting. What does it say? What is 11 verse?
Yeah,
verse
same way how he has given the testimony in Sanhedrin, and he has to give his testimony even in the
Okay,
Rome.
God is revealing his future plan for him.
Yeah.
So this is my plan for you. You have done it here, and you are going to do it in Rome. You are going to stand for me and testify for me in Rome. That is what he was told by God. Okay? He said, nothing is going to happen to you here. Nobody is going to touch you till you complete the mission I have given you. That is to testify for me in Jerusalem, in Rome. Okay? Then the next paragraph, we have the plot. The Jews, they got together. They said, we cannot let this man live. We cannot get him sentenced in the Sanhedrin because half of the Sanhedrin is for him. So they said, let us do something. Let us ambush him. Let us kill him.
Yeah.
And there were 40 people who took a vow that we will not eat or drink until we have killed him. Okay? So that's a very serious threat. But someone knew about it. They went to the commander and told him. The centurion told the commander, and commander immediately took steps. He moved Paul from Jerusalem immediately. Now, when I read this story, especially when we studied it at home some time back, we felt sorry for these 40 people. How long are they going to starve, not to take food and drink? Till they killed Paul. They wouldn't get a chance to do that. So don't you feel sorry for the 40 men under the vow? And Paul was taken overnight with a armed escort, a lot of army, cavalry, and foot soldiers. He was taken to Caesarea to Governor Felix. So we have the letter the commander wrote about him in verse 27 and 28, 29, and 30. So he sent him to Felix, the governor, and And he ordered that Paul be kept under guard in Herod's palace. Okay, Felix got him, he kept him under guard and said, I will keep you under guard till the accusers come. So, well, let us move on to chapter 24. There, quick run through these chapters. So there is the trial below, before Felix, the governor. If you read chapter 24, verse 1, 5 days later, High priest Ananias went down to Caesarea with some of the elders and a lawyer named Tertullus, and they brought their charges against Paul before the governor. Why do you think they had to take a lawyer with him? Anybody can think of a reason why? Because they were all,
Because Paul is a Roman citizen.
yes. So why did they have to take a lawyer with him?
Paul is Roman citizen. That's why they can't blame simply. Because the government will support Paul, Roman government.
Yeah. So they engaged a lawyer who is familiar with the Roman law. Okay. Because these people are lawyers. I mean, Sadducees and Pharisees, and they are all the teachers of the law. They are all lawyers in one sense, but they can only handle the Jewish law. To handle the civil court before Governor Felix, they had to have somebody who is familiar with the Roman law. So they took Tertullus with him. And now they said there are some charges they brought. They brought some charges against Paul. If you look at the screen, you will find they said he's a troublemaker. He's stirring up riots among the Jews all over the world. He's the ringleader of the Nazarene sect. And he is responsible for desecration of the temple. Okay. So these are the charges they are bringing him against him to be judged under the Roman law, because they cannot argue about the doctrines they believe in, because that doesn't make any sense to the government. They don't worry about it. Paul refuted most of these charges. He said there is no basis for all these charges they are bringing against me. But he accepted one. Which one? He accepted one of their charges. Which is the one he accepted or agreed with?
The sound is not clear, sir, sometimes.
I'm asking, out of these 4 charges they made, stirring up riots among the Jews all over the world, ringleader of the Nazarene sect, desecrating the temple, and a troublemaker. Of these 4, which is the one that Paul did not deny or he agreed with? Look at verse 14. What does the verse 14 say?
It's about the resurrection, sir.
No.
However,
What is the
I have
verse
to
14?
worship the
Worship
God
the
our Father.
The
As a
religious
follower of the
attitude.
way, they call sect. I
Okay.
believe
Religious
everything that agrees with the law and that is written in the prophets.
Yep.
So it's
So
about again.
he- He denied being a troublemaker. He denied being stirring up riots among the Jews all over the world. And he denied the charge of desecration of the temple. But he said, yes, I am a member of this, what do you call the sect? The Nazarene sect, they said, no? I am a follower of the way. I follow Jesus. And that I believe it is according to the book, according to the law that is written by the written in the prophets. And we have the same hope. So he was not willing to deny Jesus. He was, at any cost, he was not willing to deny Jesus and the gospel. He denied being anything else. Okay?
Amen. Amen.
And then, if the argument continues till verse 23, it is concerning the resurrection of the word of the dead that I am on trial before you today. Could be that. Okay? Then what did Felix do? He adjourned the meeting. He asked the commander
Became
to
the
keep him
cause.
under care till the commander comes. He will keep you under the charge of the centurion. And also in verse 23, he says, he ordered the centurion to keep Paul under guard, but to give him some freedom and permit his friends to take care of his needs. So he was kept as a free prisoner. Why do you think the governor allowed this freedom and this treatment to Paul?
He understood they are simply making problem.
That's it. He said, this is only cooked up charges. There is nothing in all this. And other is, he is a Roman citizen. If he does anything to impinge on his right as a Roman citizen, then the governor himself will be in trouble, because there is a court above him. So they are very careful. You know, Romans must have been very cruel against their enemies. They must have treated the Christians badly later. But there was a certain law, practice of the law that was allowed, that was being practiced. There was equality in treating people under the law. So these charges they brought, it had no value in it. So the governor said, that's enough. I will keep him under prison. But, he was he was in custody like this with a certain amount of freedom in Caesarea for 2 years. And with all the freedom that he had in Caesarea, I'm sure he must have been sharing the gospel with everybody who came across. And he must have been strengthening the church there. Because he had freedom to meet people, he had freedom to talk and do whatever they wanted. The people could come and visit him. So he must have been busy strengthening the church in Caesarea and also adding more people to the church. Then Felix was replaced by Festus as the governor. That is where we move into chapter 25. So Festus came, he went to Jerusalem. So the priests wanted him to transfer Paul to Jerusalem from Caesarea. Verse 3, they requested Festus as a favor to him to have Paul transferred to Jerusalem, for they were preparing to ambush to kill him along the way. Do you think those 40 people who have been fasting for 2 years, still waiting for Paul to come back? So Festus did not agree to that. He said, he is being held in Caesarea, and I am also going there. You can come and press your charges there. Then there was a trial again, starting in verse 6. Spending 8-10 days with them, Festus went down to Caesarea. Next day he convened the court. He ordered the Paul to be brought before him. When Paul came in, Jews who had come down from Jerusalem brought many serious charges against him, but they could not prove anything. Then verse 9 is interesting. I don't know, have you looked at verse 9 of chapter 25? You know, earlier the Jews requested him to transfer Paul to Jerusalem. And he said, no, I'm going there. I will deal with it in Caesarea. Now, Festus is asking Paul, are you willing to go to Jerusalem and stand trial before me there on these charges? Why do you think Festus changed his stand?
I
Asking
think he
Paul,
got some money from the Jews. He got money from the Jews.
yeah, he must have got, he must have bribed, he must have been bribed from them, because he wanted to show some favor to them. So what was Paul's answer?
Caesar, appeal to Caesar.
Yeah.
High court, Supreme Court.
He said, I am now standing before the Caesar's court, where I ought to be tried. I have not done anything wrong to the Jews, as you yourself know very well. If I am guilty of doing anything deserving death, I do not refuse to die. But if the charges brought against me by these people are not true, no one has the right to hand me over to them. Okay, sending him back to Jerusalem means handing him back to the Jewish court. And there, Paul made a statement, said, I appeal to Caesar. So Felix had no choice there. If he has appealed to Caesar, then he has to be sent to Caesar. So he said in verse 12, you have appealed to Caesar, to Caesar you will go. Okay, then the problem Felix had was he did not understand and on what charges he can be sent to Caesar. But he can write to the Caesar's court, say that this man has done this, and he is guilty of this, and I am sending it to you for the final decision. So he thought he will do the next best thing. You know, the King Agrippa, who was ruler after the Herod, you remember the story of King Herod who was eaten by the worms in Caesarea? This Agrippa is his son. So he became the king after the death of that Herod. So Herod Agrippa, see, he has been in Caesarea in Judea for a long time. He knew the situation. He knew the law. He knew the practices of the Jews. So Felix decided to consult him. So when he came, he said, I have this man brought to me. I found nothing deserving death, but because he made this appeal to emperor, I decided to send him the emperor, send him to Rome. But I have nothing definite to write to his majesty about him. So I am bringing him before you. So let you also hear him and tell me what I should do. Verse 27, he says, for I think it is unreasonable to send a prisoner to Rome without specifying charges against him. There again is the proof of the strength of the Roman legal system. So Paul appealed to Caesar, and now he was ready to be sent to Caesar. So that is the gist and the summary of these 3 chapters. And the next chapter 26, we have Paul before King Agrippa, and 27, 28 is his journey to Rome. Eventful journey. So anybody wants to make any comment or any thing about what we looked at today? Because these are not very definite, difficult chapters. There is nothing questionable here. There is nothing difficult, straightforward facts. Anybody wants to add anything to that, to what we said and what I brought out?
But what Holy Spirit has promised, we see that we must appreciate Paul's wisdom in the situations of crisis.
Yeah. It is the Spirit that provides the wisdom. Okay. God provides the wisdom for the right time. Because you remember what Jesus said? You will be persecuted, you will be brought before courts, but don't worry what you have to say.
Yeah.
The Spirit will guide you to say what is appropriate. And I think we can see that promise being fulfilled in and through this chapter.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Okay, if you have nothing else to add, we will spend a few some time in prayer. But before that, we will think about Christmas a bit. I think you should be thinking about this is the Christmas month.